That story by Mwangi Maina on the appointment of the 34 judges of the 41, one who passed on, informs the basis of our discussion. Let's quickly talk to Advocate of the High Court, Ndegwa Njiru, who joins us on the broadcast. Wakili, good evening and thank you for making time for us tonight.
Good evening to you, Abubakar. How are you?
Good. Wakili, in October 2019, the Judicial Service Commission nominated 41 judges. One has since passed, 40 were left. The President today appointed 34 of the 40, rejecting 6. Your reaction first.
Yeah. Well, I would first of all take this opportunity to congratulate the President for having done what he has done. And also congratulate the Chief Justice because in her interview, that question was very pertinent. And she was put to task to explain how she'll make sure that the 40 judges are appointed. And she gave a very candid answer that she was going to initiate the process of negotiation and speaking to each other. And we can see that 1 week after she takes office, or she's sworn in, at least 36 of them have been appointed. So that is a big plus for the Chief Justice, Martha Koome. She has been able to break that impasse, and she has been able to do what her predecessor was not able to do.
All right, Wakili, let me interject you at that point. The nomination of the 41 judges was made by the Judicial Service Commission to the President. Irrespective of who is the Chief Justice, you would expect the nominations would be accepted by the President.
Automatically, the President has no basis upon which he or she can reject the appointments, the nomination. Because at least the President has a leeway before the matter got to where it is. The President has a representative in the Judicial Service Commission through the Office of the Attorney General and the other representatives. So once the process gets to the appointment stage, the process has no reverse gear. So even the 4 that are now remaining, there is no basis upon which the President can refer the names back to the JSC. At least the law does not contemplate that scenario.
All right, Wakili, the last time the President was asked as to why he did not approve the appointments, he said he had questions with the suitability of 18 nominees whom he said were tainted according to intelligence in his possession. These are judges who are largely many of them within the system. They are not relatively new.
Yes.
Is that an indictment of the judges?
I don't think it's an indictment on the part of the judges, because if they were 18, how have they then been reduced to 6? What criteria has the President used to come up with the rest, the qualifying the others and appointing the others and just remaining with the 6? So to me, I think time has come for us to have some candid conversation and some truthful conversation within ourselves, so that we can achieve the kind of the stabilization of the country that we desire. So when the President says that 18 were unsuitable, and now he has appointed 34 and remained with only 6, one would put him to task to explain the criteria. How are the others sanitized? How are the 12 sanitized? What circumstances led their sanitization? What kind of sanitizer was done to sanitize them?
All right, and in this process of sanitization, and the rejected list is inclusive of 2 judges who nullified the BII Bill 3 weeks ago. Those are judges George Odunga and Professor Joel Ngugi. Many will question why, despite them being respected judges and jurists in the country, their names will be missing in this list.
So certainly the President has invited himself to ridicule and rebuke when at least he leaves out Justice Odunga and Justice Professor Ngugi. if I may say that those two judges are some of the distinguished jurists that we have in this country. And they have been very supportive to the jurisprudence being developed in the High Court. So when the president leaves them out, he puts himself in a situation whereby he can also be indicted, that at least he's having kind of a payback plan or a payback period. Because how comes that it's only the two who were in the BBI team that have actually been left out? If I may say, I have not heard of any complaint pending before the Judicial Service Commission about Justice Ngugi or Justice Odunga. And for us in the legal fraternity, we hold those two judges with very high esteem. Extremely high because of the way they have been able to develop the jurisprudence. And a judge should not be punished because of the position that he or she holds in a judgment. So when it appears like the president is being punitive, he opens himself up for ridicule and rebuke.
All right, Wakili, let's talk of the process of appointment of judges and the role the president has in as far as Kenya's 2010 constitution is concerned. Article 166 talks of the appointment of Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice, and other judges. And the constitution says in part, and I quote, that the president shall appoint the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice in accordance with the recommendation of the Judicial Service Commission and subject to the approval of the National Assembly, and B, all other judges in accordance with recommendation of the Judicial Service Commission, which begs the question, is this role of the president a ceremonial role, as some say, for purpose of formality, or does the president have an active role in the appointment of judges?
Thank you. You know, let us first of all revisit our history through the 1963 Constitution, which gave the president the sole mandate and the power to appoint judges without any consultation. And that power was grievously abused by President Moi. And so Kenyans, when they adopted the new Constitution, they wanted to immunize themselves from such kind of processes whereby the president might want to abuse the process. And so the power to nominate judges then was vested with an independent institution called the Judicial Service Commission. And then the president was left with that ceremonial aspect of just overseeing that the judge has been appointed and the judge has been sworn in. The entire process of determining the suitability of a judge takes place during their interviews at the Judicial Service Commission stage. And once that is over, once the Judicial Service Commission comes up with a name or names, and they recommend the president for the appointment, the law says, or the constitution says, and the president shall nominate. And so I think this case has actually even been argued all the way to the High Court. The High Court has pronounced itself. So it is a high time that the president completes the process of appointing even the 6 judges. And then, even if there are some who may not be suitable to act as judges of the High Court or Court of Appeal or whichever the court, the law has also created a mechanism for their removal. So if there are some questions about the 6 judges who are now remaining, the best position would be that the president completes the process of the appointment, then immediately commences the process of their removal. Because even the process of the removal is a constitutional process. Other than just leaving them hanging, there's a question of why have they been discriminated? Why have they not been subject to equal opportunities granted by the law? So to me, that on this one, I am not with the president. And the president is just creating more bumps and bumpy hills upon which is inviting condemnation from the Kenyans. Remember, Yeah.
All right, Wakili, one final question probably. This appointment is coming at a time when the president delivered the Madaraka Day's remarks, the 58th
Yes.
for that matter, in Kisumu County. The president,
Yes.
in what seemingly was a talk at the judiciary, said that the judiciary has not considered the spirit of the law, thus making decisions whose impacts are dire, he said. He made reference to the nullification of the presidential election in 2017 to an attempt of stopping the will of the people, he said, as expressed by the BBI. The judiciary, he said, has tested our constitutional limits. Has it?
Well, let me say that the judiciary sometimes has acted more of activist than the custodian of justice.
Mm-hmm.
It has been much more of, there are some cases and some instances where the judiciary has acted in a much more manner that does not mean that they want to have a constitutional equilibrium.
Mm-hmm.
What do I say? For example, I'll give you the example of where the judges pronounced that the appointment of some of the 10 cabinet secretaries was unlawful. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
So the judge come and say that at least 10 out of the others are not lawfully in office.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, the cabinet has what is called the doctrine of collectivity, collective responsibility.
Uh-huh.
So when he comes and indicts 10 of them, and these 10 have been sitting in government,
Uh-huh.
and they have been taking actions and actions that relate to issues of governance in Kenya, it then means that the judges are then trying to tell us that whatever the government has come up with, be it a policy, be it a development agenda, be it a budget, is also unlawful.
Uh-huh.
Simply because the 10 who are not lawfully appointed must then have contaminated. That is why the president was telling them that they must have to choose the burden of choice.
Mm-hmm.
When choosing the burden of choice, you have to look at the question of checks and balances.
Mm-hmm.
We have had a judiciary which has actually acted much more of a prefect than a person who is looking at stabilizing democracy. So the president was justified in calling some of these courts to order.
All right, Wakili. All right, Wakili,
Yes,
let me interrupt you at that point because of the interest of time. We have to conclude this discussion there, Wakili. Nonetheless, thank you for your time tonight. We were speaking to Advocate of the High Court, Ndegwa Njiru, making sense of the appointment of the judges by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Of course, the judges were nominated by the Judicial Service Commission. A total of 34 is the number that the President has approved. 7 appointed to the Court of Appeal, 9 at the Employment and Labor Relations Court, 18 to serve at the Environment and Land Court. Time for us to take a short break. Stay with us.